The title. Let's see. Nah, that's too much of a clickbait. It's true though, but no lava eruptions in this video. Let's try something else. I like it, but that's debatable in more than one way. Let's try that one more time. Perfect. Let's dive into it. I'm Rock West and I like to skate and travel, and I try combining both of them whenever I can. I live and work in Belgium, which can be pretty boring, but we're not talking about that. We'll be talking about the fantastic skating adventure I recently had in Tenerife. I made this video about it as a memory for myself and to share my experiences with you guys. So if you like listening to me droning on about my skating holiday, then grab some snacks and maybe something to drink. This video is for you. I've been on a skating trip on the islands of Malta some time ago, and I wanted to do something similar again, so I decided to travel to Tenerife this time, as ticket prices were really cheap and weather predictions there looked good. It was my first time in the Canaries. In case you don't know where that is, Tenerife is the biggest island of Las Canarias, a volcanic island group that lies west from Morocco, Africa. It's part of Spain and has a huge 3,700 meter high volcano, El Teide. So after waking up very early one morning, I took a cheap flight, and pretty soon I got an excellent view of the islands from my window. This one is Gomera, the island where Columbus stocked up before sailing off to discover America. It's just beautiful how the clouds interact with these islands. Down there is Tenerife. It's interesting to know that Tenerife was still not conquered back when Columbus sailed there. The local people that inhabited the island were still resisting the Spanish. That's why good old Cristobal Colon had to go to one of the other islands for supplies. So after landing on Tenerife, it was time to assemble my skates and find my hotel, which was on the south side of the island. As I was traveling solo, I was relying completely on my skates and on public transportation to get around. I took a few days for getting used to the climate and to explore, as I had two main goals on this journey. Visiting some really nice skate parks around the island that I spotted on Google Maps, and doing a 62-kilometer downhill, starting at the highest skatable point I could find on the island, the parking lot where the cable car to the summit of the volcano is located. From there, all the way down to Santa Cruz, the capital of Tenerife. This parking lot is at 2,300 meters above sea level, in the national park, next to the volcano El Teide. The yellow line is the route I skated, going first through a beautiful volcanic desert area. No worries, the volcano has been dormant for over 100 years. The last eruption was in 1909. The second part of the journey made me skate through a huge pine tree forest, filled with fauna that is endemic to these islands. According to the internet, there are more than 500 plant species that can only be found on the Canaries, and it sure makes for some stunning nature. And the third and final part of the downhill brought me back to civilization, through the countryside, past the northern airport and into the city of Santa Cruz, the capital of Tenerife. A beautiful city, I might add. I had a really good time there. And if you're wondering, I'm using Google Earth to show these maps of the areas I visited. So after taking a local bus up the volcano, I left the south side of the island and my downhill skating session began.
Waiting for the rain to come, staring at the sand in the baking sun.
This first bit of road was quite busy with traffic due to all the tourists driving to and from the cable cars, visiting the peak of Eliteide Mountain.
Time didn't heal.
The day started out with a beautiful blue sky, and I was pretty happy the weather was favorable for my skating endeavor.
Matter to me.
And the landscape was just stunning. Video can only show so much, but being there in person, it was incredible.
Keep on going till I write my mind.
And once I got some distance from the cable cars, the traffic became more relaxed.
Every time I hear the wind, I feel a change rolling in.
So basically, this volcanic desert is a huge crater that blew its top off thousands of years ago, and Eliteide in the background is now just the highest part of its rim. So once upon a time, this volcano was a lot higher. Skating through this desert on my own just felt surreal. Don't know how else to describe it. I had to conquer like 100 meters of uphill as I wanted to arrive in Santa Cruz on the north side of the island. So at this point I'm still more than 2,000 meters above sea level. That's about 6,500 feet for people who still use body parts for measuring distances. And from there on, it was all downhill. I took a lunch break near the observatory that's up there. They built it there because of the altitude and the lack of artificial light in the area. That guarantees a good view of space for these big telescopes. So for this journey, I bought a selfie stick to help me record my adventure with my phone. It was my first time filming with a selfie stick, and it shows. Up until then, I used to film stuff with the phone in my hand or placing it somewhere stationary. But seeing all the GoPros and the other 360 cameras, I wanted to see if filming with a stick in my hand was something for me, before spending a lot of money on expensive gear. So I'm still thinking about it. As you can figure, skating while focusing on filming and pointing a stick in different directions doesn't make life easier, especially on a downhill, but having some cool footage afterwards sure is nice. As you can see, clouds started rolling in. That's what these desert plants get their moisture from, as it doesn't really rain a lot up here. This had me a little worried, because if the road would become wet, the way down could become very slippery on skates, and this downhill would become a lot harder and riskier. Such a beautiful desert landscape. At this point, I left the desert and reached the tree line. And I took a big break there, before diving into the forest. Cloud forest. Mooi dennenappels trouwens. Let's continue the downhill. I have to say, the surface of the road on this mountain was of pretty good quality. There were the occasional cracks and potholes, but most of the asphalt was smooth. It more than exceeded my expectations, as I couldn't check the road personally beforehand. I found it to be a really enjoyable glide off the volcano. While some of the road started to get moist spots from the clouds, most of it stayed dry, and I could maintain a good grip on the asphalt with my wheels. I was skating rain wheels anyway, just in case. They perform very well on dry surfaces too, so that's always a safe option. Such good memories of this downhill. So I'm skating a 3-wheel setup with 110mm wheels, as I find it the most versatile setup to do different types of skating. And with the Kizer Trimax frame I'm using, you can rocker your wheels if you want to. But for this downhill I used the frame flat, to have more grip and control with higher speeds. This would be a very nice place to organize a downhill skating competition. Having the road closed for traffic and let people skate down in full crash gear. That would be magical. It's so beautiful up there. What a wonderful video you could make if you had a film crew, drones and stuff. But hey, I had to work with what I had. No drones or helicopters filming me. And I had to keep an eye out for traffic. So these eucalyptus trees lose their bark instead of their leaves. Curious stuff. These trees aren't endemic, by the way, but got planted here around the 1700s for their economic value, as it is a fast-growing tree. I've been thinking about the topic of naming this type of skating. You know, skating from one place to another, seeing beautiful landscapes, carrying your own provisions, and discovering the roads as you go. Something like exploration skating, or inline hiking, or wonder skating. But I feel that adventure skating sums it up best. What do you guys think? Are there other fitting names? Feel free to use the comment section to let me know what you think.
Halfway down.
So after visiting Betty's terrace and having a cold beer there, I still had about 1,000 meters of downhill to go. In preparation of my trip, I did do some scouting with Google Street View to get an overall idea of what I was up to. I had never seen this road in person before and also had to deal with traffic. That's why I kept my speed reasonably low during this downhill. And that's why I'm trying to check what's behind each corner. Does it get steeper? Is there a car parked? Are there potholes or bad pavement around the corner? Maybe a tree fell over the road. Lots of stuff to factor in. So you want to be able to brake in time and be safe. And I'm completely alone out here. So if I would fly off into a ravine or off a cliff, it would probably take a mighty long time before anyone would find me. Lots of eucalyptus trees in this area, as I was getting close to the border of the national park and the end of the forest. Though I traveled as light as possible and left my big backpack at the hotel, I did need to carry a small backpack on this journey for the bare necessities like some water and food, extra clothing, spare parts for the skates, some medical stuff and other necessities. And having a backpack also makes for a more challenging skate. A lot of weight on your back can really make balancing and stopping more difficult. And it makes the risk of injuries when falling a lot bigger. Those are things to consider when you want to go on an adventure skate. You want to keep the weight as low as possible. Filming with a selfie stick also presented me with the decision of filming horizontally or vertically. As you don't see a lot of my body when I film horizontally, I decided to film vertically most of the time. And even then, the camera angle on my phone isn't wide enough a lot of times. You would need an even longer and more impractical selfie stick. I guess that would be a lot better when you use a 360 camera. And the most difficult parts of this downhill I didn't film at all, but focused instead on my skating abilities and not flying off the road. Finally arriving at the first houses and the end of the forest. Skating through the countryside was a nice change of scenery, but as there are more and more people living in the area, the road also became increasingly busy. So the final part of this downhill, entering the city of Santa Cruz, I stopped filming, as as traffic was becoming difficult. And not the patient touristy traffic neither, like in the national park, but the local people hurrying home from work with a whole different driving style. Especially around the northern airport area, it got pretty busy. Also, a lot of streets in the city of Santa Cruz were even steeper than the roads on the mountain, so I needed my hands free and my full attention on the road for that last bit. Didn't visit during the holiday season, so I guess the roads can be even busier. Something to keep in mind if you're planning to skate the roads of Tenerife. It all worked out fine, and after 62 kilometers and more than 2,000 meters of downhill, I found my hotel as planned and was happy to eat and rest. So after completing my downhill mission, I spent some time in the city of Santa Cruz, the capital of Tenerife. A very nice place with its iconic auditorium. This sail or wave-shaped building made out of white concrete is definitely a must-see. But there's more stuff to do in Santa Cruz. Nice musea, good restaurants and bars, historical sites. Hey, there's even a huge botanical garden dedicated almost entirely to different species of palm trees, which I found quite interesting. But I didn't forget about the second objective I had made for myself, skating some nice skate parks. And the main skate park in Santa Cruz definitely checks out as very nice. So for visiting skate parks, I brought an extra aggressive frame with me, which enables me to do stalls, grinds and other stuff that I can't do with a big three-wheel setup. I've been skating since I was young, but only since a year or two I started learning some aggressive skating. It's challenging, and you have to mentally push yourself to overcome fear and learn new stuff. But it really helps with getting around and feeling comfortable on a skate park, as you practice what you know and try out new things every now and then. So I don't consider myself to be an expert on aggressive skating in any way. I find that having fun doing it is the most important part to me, for sure. It requires a very different skill set compared to, say, distance or speed skating. It can be frightening, especially when you start thinking about how long it would take an ambulance to arrive on this island and how all the paperwork would turn out. I'm guessing hospitals are not too bad in Tenerife, but I prefer not finding out. So I did some warming up at each skate park that I visited and then filmed some stuff that I was practicing, in an attempt to showcase the skate parks I visited. If you watch videos about aggressive skating, it's amazing what some people are capable of doing on a skate park like this. I'm just trying to survive here. And although there's people in the world that are way better than me at shredding a skate park, I had my fun and really enjoyed my time practicing there. It was a nice balanced skate park, beginner friendly and with enough to do for the more experienced skater as well. And quite an impressive size, surrounded by this beautiful park. Just wonderful. I still struggle with ledges. I have to jump more on top of them. Rails seem to work better for me. Finally, fear conquered. It was an oddly shaped object. That kid really did his best to be in the video. Leaving Santa Cruz a few days later, I took a bus to one of the most northern parts of the island, the small town of Punta Del Hidalgo, which for some unknown reason also has a huge skate park. And what a stunning skate park it is!
Okay, let's go.
The only thing I could complain about is that my skill set isn't good enough to do this park justice. Such a big skate park with these huge ramps and stuff. It was quite overwhelming. I felt dwarfed by it. The speed you get rolling down these ramps is incredible. Unfortunately, when I took off my aggressive frame to do some street skating with big wheels, one bolt in my boot was causing me a lot of trouble. So when I finally got the big wheel frame back on, I decided to not switch it back anymore, as breaking this part of the boot would be the end of my skate journey, and I didn't want to risk that. A bummer, but you can also have fun with big wheels in a skate park. It was magical to spend a few hours of my day there. And of course I visited the famous lighthouse of Punta Del Hidalgo. It's one of the 7 big lighthouses to outline the island of Tenerife. Continuing my journey, I traveled down the west coast and visited the city of Puerto De La Cruz. Also a very nice place. Wish I could have spent more time there to explore it more. And this city also has an impressive skate park with a big bowl section and some other cool features. It was the perfect lazy afternoon. The clouds against the mountains, a cool breeze coming in from the sea, no obligations in the way. Time to roam the skate park. Just like it's fun learning new things on skates, it has also been fun to learn new things making this video. It's the biggest video project I've done up till now. Editing the video, doing the narration, it has been a fascinating journey as well. And I learned a lot of new things. But if I come back to Tenerife, I definitely have to upgrade my camera options. Filming with a phone can only show so much. Anyway, being in Tenerife in real life, it's so much more beautiful than what any camera could show you. I definitely recommend visiting the place. That same day, I continued on to Los Realejos, a fairly small town more south, where you can also find an impressive skate park. Making these map videos with Google Earth is very enjoyable. Not every place in the world is 3D rendered yet, but when it is, it's pretty accurate to reality. Maps are becoming more and more detailed. But when the camera viewpoint comes too close to the buildings and objects, things can get a bit warped. Check out your own city and your own local skate park on Google Earth. See if it's 3D rendered. By this time, my legs were finished. I had been skating for too long that day, and I had to give up and rest. So I went off to find my hotel. And as time only marches on in one direction, my time on the island was running out. Did I mention there's some crazy steep streets in Tenerife? I felt tired of skating excessively so many days, as I did a lot of street skating as well, just getting groceries or going to restaurants, visiting the harbors, and I also did a lot of walking, visiting musea and other tourist spots. And as the island is pretty much sloped everywhere, you're walking and skating up and down all the time. So my legs got a bit overworked on this holiday, but it was more than worth it. And I did find some time to relax as well. Spending my last day on the island, I visited a few of the famous and oldest dragon trees that grow there. This one survived a poisoning attempt. Not really trees, but monocots. A monocot is genetically closer related to grasses or bamboo. Sorry for all the plant porn, but what an incredible life form. Just look at how huge they can become. This one is the oldest on the island, apparently, but there were a lot of big ones over there. So ending this adventure, all that was left to do was to disassemble my skates, pack my bags and head off to the airport. And on one of the rare occasions that it rains on the southern side of the island, I went back to Belgium. So did I have a good time skating in Tenerife? Hell yeah! Wait, you're still here listening to me? Did you have a good time watching this video? I sure hope so. I wanted to share my Tenerife skating experiences with you, and I hope you felt a little bit of the adventure spirit. Maybe it motivates you to go and have your own adventures. And who knows, maybe we'll run into each other on a future endeavor. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested to see any future projects from me. Just remember, I don't post videos on a regular basis, as I'm not doing this to make money, and it's just one of my hobbies. And leave a like if you enjoyed this video, it's really appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll leave you guys with some footage of the flight back to Belgium.
Take you to the sun.